The phone rang at 2:47 a.m., cutting through the silence of my Arlington home like a knife. Few sounds in the world wake a father with his heart already racing, and this was one of them. "Dad, don't come home. Get your things and get out now." My son David's voice was tense, whispered, urgent in a way I had never heard before. Not even when he returned wounded from Afghanistan. Not even when he called me from the CIA Academy to say he had been selected for special operations. I sat up in bed, still processing the words. "David, what's going on?" "Dad, listen carefully. You have 20 minutes. Grab the essentials and leave the house. Don't go back to the office. Don't talk to anyone. Especially don't talk to Uncle Cal." Calvin Morrison. My partner for 15 years at Morrison & Hayes Security Consulting. The man who sat at the table at my wedding to David's mother. Who helped me get through her death. Who had known David since he was a child. "David, you're scaring me. Why can't I talk to Cal?" "Because he's the reason you need to disappear. Now, Dad." The call ended. I sat there in the dark, holding the phone as if it could give me more answers. The digital clock read 2:49. My name is Perry Hayes, I'm 54 years old, and in 3 decades of building security systems for the government, I've learned one fundamental thing. When someone you trust tells you to run, you run first and ask questions later. I put on the first clothes I found, stuffed important documents into a backpack, and grabbed the money I always kept in the safe for emergencies. $5,000 in $50 and $100 bills. As I ran down the stairs, my mind tried to process what David had said about Cal. It was impossible. Calvin Morrison was more than a partner, he was family. When my wife died of cancer 10 years ago, it was Cal who kept me going during the funeral. He was the one who convinced me not to sell the company and give up everything. I opened the garage door and that's when I saw it. A black sedan parked 3 houses down, engine running, lights off. In the side mirror, another car on the opposite corner. Same position. Same setup. 20 years working in national security teaches you to recognize surveillance. I started the car and slowly backed out of the garage, pretending to be casual. When I turned the first corner, the 2 cars moved too. Not immediately, they were professionals. But they moved. I accelerated. They accelerated. I grabbed my phone and dialed David again. Straight to voicemail. I tried 2 more times. Nothing. I was 5 blocks from home when the world exploded behind me. The orange flash lit up the entire night sky. The sound came 2 seconds later, a sharp, definitive explosion that made my car windows rattle. In the rearview mirror, I saw a column of fire rising from exactly where my street was. My home. 40 years of memories. The room where David grew up. The garden my wife planted. All going up in smoke. The cars that had been following me were gone. They probably had orders to confirm that I was inside when everything exploded. I stopped at a gas station 20 minutes later, my hands shaking as I filled up. The radio news was already reporting a gas explosion in Arlington. A terrible accident. No confirmed casualties. No casualties because I wasn't there. Because my CIA son saved me. But from what? And why was Cal involved? I called David for the 10th time. "This time," he answered. "Dad, are you okay?" "My house exploded, David. My entire house is reduced to ashes." "I know. I'm sorry. I couldn't warn you sooner." "Warn me about what? What does Cal have to do with this?" Silence on the other end. Then a long sigh. "Dad, for the past 6 months, I've been investigating leaks of classified information at your company. National security contracts being sold to outside groups. Cal Morrison is at the center of it all." The words hit like punches. "That's impossible." "He used you, Dad. He used your reputation, your contacts, your signature on documents you didn't even know what they really meant. And when he found out the CIA was investigating, he decided you were a risk." I looked around the empty gas station. 2:30 in the morning on a back road in Virginia. Completely alone. "David, where are you?" "In a safe place." "But Dad, this isn't over. Cal knows you didn't die in the explosion. He's going to come after you." "So what do I do?" "You disappear. For now. Until I can gather enough evidence to take him down." I hung up the phone and stood there, breathing in the cold early morning air. 15 years of partnership. 15 years of absolute trust. How many times had Cal sat at my dinner table? How many times had he given me advice about David? How many times had he cried with me when talking about his wife? All lies. And if you're wondering how someone can discover that their whole life has been an illusion, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Because this story is just beginning, and when Cal Morrison finds out that I didn't die in that explosion, the real war will begin. I got back in the car and drove down the empty road with no particular destination in mind. I knew only one thing: Perry Hayes had died in that explosion. The one who survived was someone much more dangerous. I found a cheap motel on the road between Richmond and Norfolk, the kind of place where you pay cash and no one asks any questions. The room smelled of cheap disinfectant and stale cigarettes, but it was safe. At least for now. I called David again at 4 in the morning. He answered on the first ring. "Dad, are you in a safe place?" "For now." "David, I need to understand what's going on. Cal Morrison isn't just my business partner. He's a traitor, Dad. And he's been using you for 15 years. The words cut like blades. 15 years. Since my wife died and I was vulnerable, lost, almost selling everything and giving up on life. Explain it to me properly, David. From the beginning. Silence on the other end. Then a heavy sigh. 6 months ago, the CIA identified systematic leaks of national security information. Military base protocols, transportation routes for sensitive equipment, access codes that were renewed monthly. Information that only companies like yours would have complete access to. I felt my stomach sink. Our company, Morrison & Hayes Security Consulting, specialized in exactly that. We developed security systems for government facilities across the East Coast. Continuing, David said, when we tracked the sales, we discovered that the buyers were mercenary groups and terrorist organizations. Someone was literally selling American national security on the black market. And you suspected me. At first, yes. You were the only one with full access to the systems. Your signature was on all the contracts. Your access code was used to download the files. I closed my eyes. That was it. That was why David had been distant these past few months. The increasingly rare visits. The casual questions about work that now seemed like disguised interrogations. But when we started digging deeper, David continued, we discovered something interesting. You were never in the office when the downloads took place. Always in external meetings, trips, appointments that Cal knew about in advance. Calvin Morrison. The man who cried at my wife's funeral. Who brought me soup when I had pneumonia. Who said our company was more than a business, it was a legacy. David, that doesn't make sense. Cal has as much to lose as I do. He owns 45% of the company. No, Dad. We checked the actual corporate records. Cal secretly transferred his shares to an offshore company 3 years ago. He technically owns nothing in Morrison & Hayes anymore. You are the sole legal owner. If the company were investigated for treason, you would bear the consequences alone. The revelation hit me like a punch in the stomach. 3 years ago. Right after we renewed all the most important government contracts. Cal had insisted on simplifying the corporate structure for tax optimization. I signed the papers without question, trusting him completely. He set me up to be the scapegoat. Exactly. And when he found out we were investigating, he decided it would be simpler to eliminate you and blame your death on an accidental explosion. The company's insurance would pay him as the beneficiary. 15 years of planning, Dad. 15 years. Suddenly, memories began to rearrange themselves in my mind like pieces of a sinister puzzle. Cal always insisting that I go to the most important external meetings. You're better with clients, Perry. They trust you. Cal staying in the office to take care of the technical stuff while I was away. The vacations he encouraged me to take. You work too hard, Perry. Go fishing in Canada. Stay 2 weeks. I'll take care of everything here. The access systems he updated. Leave it to me, Perry. You don't need to worry about these technical issues. For 15 years, I thought I had a loyal partner taking care of the details while I focused on customer relations. In fact, I had a brilliant manipulator who turned my trust into the perfect tool for his scheme. David, how long have you known? 3 weeks. We had enough evidence to arrest him 3 weeks ago. But we needed more time to dismantle the entire network. Cal wasn't working alone. He has contacts within the government, other businessmen involved. If we moved too quickly, the big fish would get away. And you didn't tell me because you're a terrible liar, Dad. Cal has known you for 15 years. If you knew the truth, he would have figured it out in the first conversation. We needed you to keep acting normal until we were ready to shut down the entire network. But they couldn't wait. Something forced their hand. David, what changed? Why did they have to take me out now? Silence. An overly long silence. David. Cal found out he was being investigated. We don't know how, but he found out. Yesterday afternoon, we intercepted a conversation of him planning your elimination for this morning. We had hours to get you out of there. Hours. If David hadn't called me, I'd be dead now. Ashes and charred bones being identified by dental records. Where is he now? Gone. Empty office, abandoned house, bank accounts wiped clean. He's been prepared for this for a long time, Dad. He has escape routes set up, false identities, money stashed overseas. I clenched my fists. 15 years of friendship, trust, partnership. All a lie. All calculated. Even his presence at my wife's funeral was probably calculated. The perfect moment to approach a vulnerable man and gain his absolute trust. David, listen carefully. I know how he thinks. I know his habits, his connections, places he considers safe. 15 years of living with him, even if based on lies, have given me information you don't have. Dad, you need to stay hidden. Let the CIA handle this. No, my voice came out firmer than I expected. He used me. He used my reputation, my company, my signature to sell secrets that cost American lives. He tried to kill me to cover his tracks. And he ran away like a coward when he was discovered. I got up and walked to the motel window. The sun was rising, painting the sky orange. A new day. A day when Perry Hayes would rise from the ashes of his own home. He doesn't just know the confident, naive Perry Hayes he manipulated for 15 years, I continued. He never knew the Perry Hayes who served 2 tours in Iraq before becoming a businessman. The Perry Hayes who has his own connections, his own resources, and who won't take being humiliated. Dad. David, you have 3 weeks to investigate. I have 15 years of intimate knowledge about Calvin Morrison. If you want to catch him, you need my help. Long pause. Then, what if he tries to kill you again? I smiled for the first time since the phone rang. Let him try. This time, I'll be waiting. I hung up the phone and opened my wallet. Inside, besides emergency cash, were contact cards I hadn't used in years. People who owed me favors. People who had reasons to hate Cal Morrison as much as I did now. If you think a 54-year-old man can't take down a traitor with a 15-year head start, you're about to find out you've underestimated the power of silent revenge. Because Calvin Morrison made one fatal mistake, he left me alive. And Perry Hayes dead would be far less dangerous than Perry Hayes resurrected. 48 hours after the explosion, I learned that Calvin Morrison had discovered I wasn't dead. David called me while I was having breakfast at a 24-hour restaurant in Richmond. Dad, he knows. How can you be sure? Because he just hired a private security company to find you. Blackwater Tactical Solutions. Ex-military, ex-CIA. Serious people. I felt the coffee grow cold in my hands. Cal wasn't just trying to cover his tracks. He was going into full-scale war mode. David, how much time do I have? They're already analyzing security camera footage from gas stations within a 50-mile radius of your home. They'll probably have your approximate location within 12 hours. I paid the bill and left quickly. I needed a safer place to plan, and I knew exactly where to go. 40 minutes later, I was standing in front of a modest house in Fredericksburg. Jake Morrison lived there. Cal's younger brother, a Vietnam veteran who had developed a complicated relationship with his more successful sibling. Jake opened the door using a cane, the result of shrapnel he had carried in his right leg for 50 years. His eyes widened when he saw me. Perry Hayes. I thought you were dead. That's what your brother wants everyone to think. Jake stared at me for a long moment, then took a step back. Come in. I think you need to tell me a story. Over the next hour, I told him everything. The CIA investigation, the leaks, the discovery that Cal had transferred his shares offshore, the plan to eliminate me. Jake listened quietly, but I saw his expression harden with each revelation. I always knew Cal was hiding something, he finally said. In recent years, he changed. He became arrogant, condescending. He started treating our family as if we were inferior. Jake, I need your help. He leaned forward. What do you have in mind? Cal knows my habits, my contacts, my obvious resources. But he never paid attention to his family. You have access to information he doesn't even know you have. Jake smiled for the first time since I arrived. Like the keys to the storage unit where he keeps his personal files? Bingo. He asked me to look after the place while he was traveling on business last month. He said they were just company documents, nothing important. But Cal never did anything that wasn't important. 2 hours later, we were inside the storage unit. Cal had underestimated the brother he considered a failure. What he didn't know was that Jake had served in intelligence operations in Vietnam before being wounded. 45 years of retirement hadn't erased his skills. What we found in the warehouse changed everything. They weren't just company files. They were 15 years of meticulous documentation of illegal operations. Names of international buyers, money transfer routes, even recordings of conversations with corrupt government officials. Jesus Christ, I muttered, leafing through a file marked contingency, witness elimination. My name was on the list, along with 3 other people I recognized. Former company employees who had asked inconvenient questions. Perry, Jake called to me from the other end of the warehouse. You need to see this. He was holding a folder marked Life Insurance, Operation Resurrection. Inside was a detailed plan to fake Cal's own death if he was discovered. Fake passports, bank accounts under fictitious names, a property in Brazil already purchased and mobilized. But the most shocking part was the last page, a list of assets to be liquidated before departure. Again, my name was at the top. Followed by Jake, 2 company accountants, and David. My son was on Calvin Morrison's death list. That son of a bitch planned to kill my entire family, I whispered. Jake put his hand on my shoulder. Perry, this isn't just betrayal. It's personal genocide. I photographed each document with my cell phone. Then Jake and I rearranged everything exactly as it had been. Cal couldn't suspect we'd been there. Back in the car, I called David. Dad, where are you? The Blackwater team is closing in on your last known location. I'm safe. David, I found something that changes everything. Cal isn't just selling secrets. He's planning to eliminate anyone who could implicate him. Including you. Silence on the other end. Then, Dad, that means the CIA investigation isn't enough. Even if they arrest him, he has the resources to continue operating from prison or escape before trial. Exactly. That's why we're going to stop playing by their rules. What do you mean? I looked at Jake, who was driving with a determined expression I hadn't seen in years. The wounded veteran had become the soldier again. I mean that Calvin Morrison made a fatal mistake. He underestimated what a man is capable of when he discovers that someone plans to kill his entire family. Dad. David, Cal has an escape plan. We found the documentation. If the CIA moves now, he'll disappear and never pay for what he's done. But if he believes he's safe, that Perry Hayes is really dead and that he can execute his elimination plan on his own time, he'll let his guard down. Exactly. And when he does, we'll be waiting. That night, Jake and I sat at his kitchen table and planned something the CIA would never approve. It wasn't just about arresting Cal Morrison. It was about completely destroying his ability to cause harm, exposing his entire network of corruption, and ensuring he lost everything before facing justice. Perry, Jake said as we reviewed our maps and timelines, are you sure about this? Because once we start, there's no turning back. I thought about the list of names in the witness elimination file. David. Jake. Innocent people Cal saw as disposable obstacles. Jake, He turned 15 years of my life into a lie. He used my wife's death to gain my trust. He planned to kill my son. This isn't about personal revenge anymore. I got up and walked to the window. The night was clear, stars visible above the trees. It's about stopping a monster who believes he is above any consequences. I turned to Jake. Tomorrow, Calvin Morrison is going to find out that Perry Hayes didn't die in that explosion. Perry Hayes has been reborn. And the man who rose from the ashes is far more dangerous than the man he tried to kill. Jake smiled, the first genuine smile I'd seen since I'd arrived. Good. Because I have 45 years of pent-up anger toward my brother. And it's finally time to collect. In the next 24 hours, we were going to turn Calvin Morrison from predator to prey. And when we were done, he was going to wish he had died in that explosion instead of me. If this revelation about a plan for mass murder has made you as angry as it has me, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to find out how an underestimated man and his unlikely ally set up the most spectacular downfall you've ever seen. Because Cal Morrison was about to learn that killing Perry Hayes' reputation was easy. Killing the real Perry Hayes would be impossible. The first phase of our plan began at 5 o'clock the next morning. Jake and I met at a 24-hour coffee shop in Manassas, away from the prying eyes of Arlington. He brought something that would change everything, a folder full of information that Cal never imagined his brother had. Perry, for the past 15 years, Cal would call me whenever he drank too much. Especially on Wednesdays, after meetings with international investors. I recorded everything. Jake placed a small digital recorder on the table. 43 hours of conversations where he confesses details about operations, names of contacts, even bank account numbers that he thought he was keeping only in his drunken head. I plugged in headphones and listened to a few excerpts. Cal's slurred voice admitting to forging my signature. Laughing about how I was pathetic and too trusting to suspect anything. Describing how he planned to eliminate me if the investigation heated up. This stuff would take him down immediately, I muttered. But it's not enough, Jake replied. Cal has expensive lawyers, political connections. Recordings obtained without consent can be challenged. We need something more devastating. That's where my expertise came in. 15 years of developing security systems had given me access to information networks that Cal underestimated. More importantly, I had intimate knowledge of the weaknesses of every system we installed for government clients. Cal made a fatal mistake when he transferred the shares offshore. He had to use his real signature on the international documents. And I know exactly where those documents are filed. Over the next 3 days, we implemented Phase 1, complete mapping of Cal's assets. We discovered that he maintained 3 false identities, all with active passports. He had properties in Brazil, Panama, and Switzerland. Bank accounts in 9 different countries. But we also discovered his vulnerabilities. Cal was obsessed with control. Even with all his paranoia, he couldn't resist micromanaging every operation personally. That meant he left digital traces everywhere, emails, phone calls, travel records, all meticulously documented. He's brilliant but arrogant, I explained to Jake as we organized our timeline. He believes he's smarter than anyone who could investigate him. That arrogance will be his downfall. The second phase began when David called with disturbing news. Dad, the Blackwater team found your last motel. They're 12 hours behind you. But there's something else that's more worrying. What? Cal hired a second team. Not to find you. To eliminate witnesses. Jake is on the list. I looked at Jake, who was reviewing bank documents at the kitchen table. 15 years of pent-up resentment had turned into pure determination. He finally had the chance to confront the brother who had always treated him like a failure. David, how many people does Cal plan to eliminate? From the intercept we got, at least 7. Including 2 former company employees, an independent accountant who audited the accounts last year, and my girlfriend, Sarah. My blood ran cold. Why Sarah? Because she works in the FBI's Financial Intelligence Department. Cal found out that you 2 met through me. He's assuming she has access to information about the investigation. Sarah was a 28-year-old financial crime specialist whom David had met at a conference on national security. They had been dating for 8 months. A completely innocent person whom Cal saw as a disposable threat. Jake, I called. Change of plans. I explained the situation. Jake's eyes hardened in a way I hadn't seen since his days as a soldier. Perry, that son of a bitch has crossed the line. It's no longer about money or secrets. Now it's about stopping a mass murderer. We spent the next 12 hours reorganizing our strategy. We could no longer afford a slow and meticulous plan. We needed to act fast, but devastatingly. The third phase was the riskiest. We decided to use Cal against himself. Jake called his brother, feigning panic. He said that 2 men had shown up at his house asking questions about Perry Hayes, and that he was scared. He asked Cal to come pick him up and take him to a safe place. Cal agreed immediately. Not out of brotherly concern, but because it was the perfect opportunity to eliminate Jake personally and ensure that there were no loose ends. "He's coming here tonight," Jake said after hanging up. "Probably with backup. He'll try to convince me to get in the car voluntarily. And then..." Jake smiled for the first time in days. "Then he'll find out that Perry Hayes isn't the only one who can rise from the dead." We spent the rest of the afternoon preparing Jake's house. Hidden cameras in every room. High-quality recorders strategically placed. And something Cal would never expect, the presence of the CIA itself. David had obtained authorization for an emergency field operation. Not to arrest Cal, they didn't have enough evidence for that yet. But to document any attempted murder of federal witnesses. "Dad, when Cal arrives tonight, every word will be recorded with professional quality. If he confesses anything related to the leaks or the assassination attempts, we'll have irrefutable evidence." But there was a problem. Cal was too smart to confess directly. We needed to provoke him, make him lose control. That's when Jake had the most brilliant idea of all. "Perry, you'll be in the house. Hidden, but present. Cal will think he's convinced me to turn you in. When he lets his guard down, you show up. Face to face. 15 years of lies being confronted head-on. Jake, if it goes wrong. If it goes wrong, at least we'll die trying to stop a monster. And our deaths will give the CIA enough evidence to hunt him down to the ends of the earth." At 6 o'clock in the afternoon, we called David with final confirmation. "Everything is ready. Cal will arrive in 2 hours. Are you sure your team will be in position?" "Dad, 8 agents are spread out within a 200-meter radius. 2 snipers in adjacent buildings. 3 cars blocking escape routes. If Cal tries anything, he won't get out of this alive." I hung up the phone and looked at Jake. The wounded veteran had become the soldier he once was. Upright posture, focused eyes, steady hands. "Perry, if our story inspires you to never give up when someone tries to destroy you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Because tonight, Calvin Morrison is going to find out that underestimating the Hayes family was the last mistake of his life." At 8:15, we saw the headlights approaching. A black Mercedes with tinted windows, followed by an SUV keeping a respectful distance. Cal had arrived. And he was about to discover that Perry Hayes had not only risen from the dead. He had returned to collect a 15-year-old debt. Jake gave me a final nod before going to open the door. "Remember, Perry. It's not revenge. It's justice. And justice is in no hurry." As I positioned myself in the bedroom closet, with a clear view of the living room through the cameras, I whispered into the hidden microphone. "Calvin Morrison, you're about to discover the difference between manipulating a man and facing a ghost." The front door opened. And Cal Morrison's last lie was about to be exposed to the world. Calvin Morrison entered Jake's house with the confidence of a man who believed he controlled every variable in the situation. He wore an impeccable dark blue suit, his gray hair perfectly combed, a warm smile of a concerned brother. "Jake, my God, are you okay?" Cal closed the door behind him, hugging his brother with calculated drama. "When you called about those men." "Cal, thank you for coming. I'm terrified." Jake played the part perfectly, his voice trembling, his hands seemingly nervous. "They asked questions about Perry Hayes, about the company, about you." From my hiding place, I watched Cal process the information. His eyes scanned the room, noting details. Jake's cane leaning against the wall, the television on low volume, the curtains closed. Standard procedure for someone trained in hostile situations. "Jake, I need to tell you the truth about Perry." Cal guided his brother to the sofa, positioning himself strategically between Jake and the door. He wasn't who you thought he was. What do you mean? Perry Hayes was selling military secrets to terrorists. The lie came out of Cal's mouth with absolute naturalness. The CIA found out. He knew he was going to be arrested and, well, you saw the news. The explosion wasn't accidental. Jake feigned shock convincingly. Are you saying Perry killed himself? Exactly. Suicide to avoid arrest. Cal put his hand on his brother's shoulder. Jake, you were questioned because you were close to the family. But don't worry. I have connections that can protect you. It was impressive to watch Cal construct his alternate version of reality. 15 years of lies had honed his manipulative skills. He truly believed he could control any narrative. Cal, there's something I need to show you. Jake stood up and walked over to the table where he had left one of the recordings we had made. I found this in the basement yesterday. Cal frowned but followed his brother. When Jake pressed play, Cal's drunken voice echoed through the room. Jake, you don't understand the power I have now. Perry Hayes is a useful idiot. He signs everything I put in front of him. When this operation is over, I'll have enough money to buy my own island. Cal's face paled. Jake, where did you get this? You've been calling me drunk every Wednesday for 3 years, Cal. I recorded everything. The mask of concerned brother finally slipped. Cal's eyes became cold, calculating. He took 2 steps toward Jake, his hands moving toward his coat. Jake, you don't understand the situation you've created for yourself. Actually, Cal, I understand perfectly. That's when I came out of my hiding place. Cal spun around, genuine shock crossing his features. For a moment, he just stood there, processing the impossibility of my presence. Perry. His voice came out as a whisper. You should be dead. I should be, right, Cal? But your plan had a fatal flaw. I walked slowly toward him, keeping a safe distance. You underestimated my son. David, Cal murmured, understanding beginning to form in his eyes. David has been working for the CIA for 5 years. Not 3, as you always believed. And for the past 8 months, he has been investigating you specifically. Cal looked between me and Jake, calculating his escape options. But it was too late. The front door opened, and 3 agents entered silently, guns drawn. 15 years, Cal. My voice came out controlled, calmer than I felt. 15 years using my trust, my signature, my reputation to sell secrets that cost American lives. Perry, you don't understand. The system is corrupt. Politicians sell information all the time. You just turned my wife's death into the perfect opportunity to manipulate me. I cut off his pathetic justification. You consoled my grief to gain my absolute trust. You used my vulnerability as a tool. Cal tried one last card. You don't have enough evidence. My lawyers. Jake laughed for the first time since this had all started. Cal, do you really think I only recorded your drunken confessions? He played another recording. This time, it was a conversation between Cal and someone identified as Syrian buyer, where he detailed how to forge my signature on specific contracts. And there's more, Jake continued. Perry found your warehouse. All the files, all the transfer routes, all the international contacts. 15 years of meticulously documented evidence. Cal's face changed. Arrogance gave way to panic, then despair. He looked at the agents, at the recordings, at us, and finally understood that there was no way out. Do you know what else we found in your warehouse, Cal? My voice took on a coldness I didn't know I possessed. The hit list. My name, Jake's name, David's name, even my son's girlfriend. 7 people you planned to murder to protect your secrets. Cal didn't respond. He just lowered his head, defeated. Agent Lewis entered through the back door, badge in hand. Calvin Morrison, you're under arrest for treason, selling national secrets, attempted murder, and conspiracy to murder federal witnesses. As the handcuffs clicked around his wrists, Cal looked up at me one last time. Perry, everything we built together. Everything you built on my back, I corrected him. The difference is that now everyone will know the truth. The agents led him out. Jake and I were left alone in the room, the silence weighing between us. "Perry," Jake said after a long moment, "for 45 years, my brother made me believe I was the failure of the family. That he was the successful one, the smart one, the one who mattered." He looked out the window, where the CIA car was disappearing into the night. Finding out that his success was built on lies, betrayal, and blood, it's liberating. My phone vibrated. "David." "Dad, is everything okay?" "It's over, David. Cal's in jail. The evidence is irrefutable." "And you? How do you feel?" I paused to think. How did I feel? Satisfied? Avenged? Victorious? "I feel like Perry Hayes again," I replied. "Not the Perry Hayes that Cal manipulated, but the man who built the company before he came along. The man who served his country. The man who raised you." If you're following this journey of a man who lost everything but found the strength to fight for the truth, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Because stories like this prove that no matter how elaborate the scheme against you, the truth always has enough power to bring down any lie. The next morning, Calvin Morrison's arrest would be national news. Former security entrepreneur arrested for selling military secrets. But for me, the real victory wasn't in the headlines. It was in the certainty that Perry Hayes had risen from the dead. And this time, no one else would be able to bury me. 6 months later, Calvin Morrison pleaded guilty to 17 federal charges. Sentenced to 25 years in prison without the possibility of parole. His assets were confiscated, his offshore accounts frozen, his reputation completely destroyed. But for me, the real victory came well before the trial. It happened the day after his arrest, when David called me with news that changed everything. "Dad, the government has decided to return Morrison and Hayes to you. Completely. Cal has lost all legal rights to the company. 15 years of building something I thought I had lost forever. And now it was back in my hands, cleaner than ever." Jake became my official partner. At 71, the failure of the Morrison family took over 40% of a company that was now worth 3 times more than before. His military experience brought a perspective that transformed our security consulting firm into the most respected on the East Coast. "Perry," Jake said to me one afternoon as we reviewed contracts, "for 45 years, Cal made me believe I was insignificant. Finding out that he was the real failure was liberating. But working with you proved that I was never the problem." The CIA investigation revealed that Cal had sold information responsible for 3 attacks on military convoys in the Middle East. 15 American soldiers killed because of his greed. When I learned this, any lingering guilt I felt disappeared completely. David was promoted within the CIA, recognized for his meticulous investigation. Sarah, his girlfriend, accepted his marriage proposal last month. They invited me to be the best man. "Dad," David told me when they announced their engagement, "during these months investigating Cal, I learned something important. No matter how elaborate the scheme against you, the truth always finds a way to win." Today, our company employs 52 people. We develop security systems for military bases in 12 states. Our reputation has not only been restored, it has multiplied. Last week, I received a letter in prison. Cal wrote asking for forgiveness, claiming that circumstances forced him to make desperate decisions. I tore up the letter without finishing it. Forgiveness is for those who make mistakes out of human weakness. Cal systematically planned to destroy innocent lives out of pure greed. Forgiveness would be an insult to the families of the soldiers who died because of him. Today, as I sign contracts at the desk Cal used to use, I reflect on everything I've learned. The most painful betrayal comes from those we trust the most. But I've also discovered that men of integrity attract other men of integrity. Jake, David, even Agent Lewis have become not just allies, but family. Perry Hayes really did die in that explosion. The one who rose from the ashes was someone wiser, stronger, more prepared to protect what really matters. If this story of resurrection and justice touched your heart, subscribe to the channel for more stories of people who refuse to accept defeat. Because we all deserve to remember that no matter how deep the hole they dig for you, there is always a way to climb out. The last I heard from Cal, he was working in the prison laundry, earning 20 cents an hour. Me? I'm expanding into California next month. The sweetest revenge isn't destroying those who betrayed you. It's building something so magnificent that they spend the rest of their lives regretting they missed their chance to be a part of it.